Electric vehicles have been taking a beating lately, and it's not just about their range anxiety or hefty price tags. No, they're being accused of making people physically ill. Yeah, you heard that right. Why do I feel sick in an EV is the latest cry echoing throughout Reddit threads everywhere. So, let's dive into the top 5 health issues that are turning electric car rides into a queasy experience. Number 1. Motion sickness. Motion sickness in EVs isn't just a passing fad. It's a real stomach-churning problem that's leaving drivers and passengers green around the gills. You see, Reddit users aren't shy about sharing their horror stories, and it seems like motion sickness in EVs is more than just a little inconvenience. It's becoming a widespread issue. In the good old days, motion sickness in cars was mostly about passengers feeling queasy from not being able to predict the driver's moves, but with EVs, the problem has escalated. Drivers are now joining the ranks of the nauseated, thanks to features like instant torque and regenerative braking that are throwing everyone for a loop. Take, for example, one disillusioned Redditor who thought the Tesla Model Y was the perfect family car until a test drive left them feeling like they just stepped off a roller coaster. To quote the post, "I did a test drive yesterday and felt moderately motion sick afterward," they lamented. And they're not alone. Another user, a seasoned EV driver, blamed their motion sickness on regenerative braking, especially when they're not the one in control behind the wheel. It's like a sickening roller coaster ride, but without the fun, and it gets worse. It's not just humans feeling the EV-induced nausea. Our furry friends are suffering too. One distraught EV owner reported that their dog throws up almost every time they hit the road in their Tesla. And while some might write off these complaints as mere gripes from the overly sensitive, experts are backing up these claims. Dr. DJ Verrett, an ear, nose, and throat doctor from Texas, weighed in, explaining how our brains expect certain cues when we're in motion, but in an EV, those cues are all out of whack. The brain's like, hey, where's the engine noise? Why am I feeling sick? So if you thought motion sickness was just for boats and roller coasters, think again. EVs are taking it to a whole new level, leaving drivers, passengers, and even pets feeling like they've been spun around in a blender. And until manufacturers figure out how to smooth out these rough rides, it looks like we'll be reaching for the Dramamine every time we hop into an EV. Lack of sound. Another health issue plaguing EV owners is the lack of sound. While EVs are often praised for their quiet operation, this supposed advantage is actually making people sick. Various studies have shown that one of the 2 keys of preventing motion sickness is being able to anticipate upcoming motions, and sound plays a crucial role in this process. In traditional internal combustion engine cars, the growl of the engine ramps up as the driver accelerates. This auditory cue signals our brains that we're about to pick up speed, preparing our bodies for the change in motion. However, EVs are eerily silent in comparison. Without the familiar engine noise, it's much harder for passengers and even drivers to predict what's coming next. This sudden lack of sound and vibration leaves our bodies unprepared for rapid acceleration, abrupt direction changes, and really any other dynamic driving condition. A study aptly titled "Knowing What's Coming: Anticipatory Audio Cues Can Mitigate Motion Sickness" confirmed the absence of sound is a major factor contributing to EV-induced nausea. The study found that average illness ratings were significantly lower when there were informative auditory cues compared to when there were none. In simple terms, sound helps us brace for motion, and without it, we're left in a state of sensory disorientation. This isn't just theoretical. Reddit users are living proof of this problem. Many have reported feeling queasy and disoriented in EVs, attributing their discomfort to the silent ride. One user pointed out that the smooth, quiet ride of their EV made them feel more sick than any traditional car they'd driven. It's a cruel irony. What was supposed to be a hallmark of comfort and convenience is turning out to be a significant drawback. Manufacturers are kind of scrambling to address this issue. Some new EV models now emit artificial sounds to mimic the noise of a combustion engine, and others even feature paddle shifters that simulate gear changes. These modifications aim to bring the EV driving experience closer to what our bodies are accustomed to with gas-powered cars. However, these are just band-aids on a much larger problem. The reality is that quieter doesn't necessarily mean more comfortable. As we're being forced to continue to transition to EVs, it's becoming clear that this silent revolution might be a more nauseating experience than we expected. Until manufacturers find a way to genuinely replicate the auditory cues of traditional engines, EVs will likely continue to leave a bad taste and, well, feeling in many people's mouths. So next time you hear someone singing the praises of their whisper-quiet EV, just remember, silence isn't always golden, especially when it makes you sick. Number 3. Built-in screens. Another major culprit in the EV-induced motion sickness saga is those giant built-in screens. You know, like the ones that seem to dominate the dashboard of every modern car, especially EVs like those from Tesla. Now, don't get it wrong, digital controls and massive screens might seem like the pinnacle of convenience and modernity, but they're also making a lot of folks feel downright queasy. You see, it's not just about the ease of use or the fancy user experience. These digital behemoths are actually messing with our equilibrium and contributing to motion sickness in a big way. Take a peek inside a Tesla or any other EV and you'll likely be greeted with a massive computer-sized screen that lords over the entire dashboard. These screens control everything from audio to climate change settings, leaving little room for traditional physical controls. And while that might sound futuristic and sleek, it's also a recipe for disaster when it comes to keeping your lunch down. Why? Well, picture yourself sitting in the passenger seat, eyes glued to that mesmerizing screen instead of the road ahead. It's like trying to watch a movie while riding a roller coaster. You're bound to feel a little woozy. With your focus on a screen rather than the motion of the car, your brain struggles to anticipate movements, leading to, well, you guessed it, motion sickness. But hey, don't expect automakers to ditch these screens anytime soon. Nah, they're here to stay. And not just because EVs love to flaunt their tech-savvy features. No, it's also about the bottom line. See, swapping out physical controls for digital screens is a great way for car manufacturers to slash production costs. A pretty big deal when you consider that most of them are still trying to turn a profit in the EV game. So while these screens might seem like the epitome of modern luxury, they're also leaving a lot of people feeling like they're on a never-ending tilt-a-whirl ride. Number 4. Regenerative braking. Now, let's talk about the biggest contributor to motion sickness in EVs, regenerative braking. For years, experts have been touting the numerous benefits of EVs, with regenerative braking being a highlight. This system allows for one-pedal driving, where lifting off the throttle slows down the vehicle, simultaneously generating force through resistance to help charge the battery and extend range. Sounds great. Not quite. Despite the hype, experienced drivers are starting to reveal the darker side of this supposedly convenient feature. Regenerative braking requires a learning curve that many drivers struggle with. Instead of the throttle pedal acting like a simple on-off switch, it functions more like a potentiometer, requiring delicate, precise control. This nuance means that many drivers inadvertently create a jerky, aggressive ride, especially in stop-start traffic. The problem is amplified by the inexperience of many EV drivers. Unlike traditional braking systems, regenerative braking can make the ride feel unpredictable and uncomfortable. This isn't just anecdotal, it's a common theme across numerous driver reports and user feedback on platforms like Reddit. One user shared their frustration, explaining how the constant deceleration and acceleration made every trip feel like a roller coaster ride gone wrong. In an attempt to mitigate these issues, major EV manufacturers have started offering adjustable regenerative braking systems. These allow drivers to tweak the settings, sacrificing a bit of battery range for a smoother ride. But even with these adjustments, the system remains a source of discomfort for many. Monica Jones, an associate research scientist at the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute, has studied motion sickness extensively. She points out that one-pedal driving is a fundamentally different experience from driving a traditional combustion engine vehicle. Even if drivers master the technique, the unpredictable nature of traffic can still trigger motion sickness. Her research shows that while the technology is advanced, it isn't without significant drawbacks. So while regenerative braking might seem like a revolutionary feature on paper, in reality it's turning daily commutes into nausea-inducing nightmares. Number 1. Instant torque. Finally, let's get into the number one issue making people sick in electric vehicles: instant torque. EVs offer a drastically different driving experience compared to internal combustion engine cars. or ICE cars, and it's not necessarily for the better. With traditional gas engines, the power and torque build gradually as the engine revs up. This predictable increase allows passengers and drivers to anticipate acceleration. In contrast, electric motors deliver power instantaneously. The moment you hit the pedal, you're hit with a seamless torque that you can feel like a sudden jolt. Seriously, that initial push when you feel a roller coaster accelerate fast is an applicable comparison. This immediate power delivery is disorienting, especially for those not accustomed to it. Both passengers and drivers struggle to predict the car's movements, leading to what can only be described as body confusion. This lack of anticipation is a major contributor to motion sickness in EVs. Matt Farah, the editor-at-large for Road and Track, nailed it when he said, quote, "The way an EV motor delivers power and the absence of sound is what makes you feel dizzy going fast in one." The combination of silent operation and instant torque spells trouble for anyone prone to motion sickness. In response, car manufacturers are scrambling to find solutions. Many are introducing different drive models with varying throttle responses. For instance, Honda engineers are working on power mapping that aims to emulate the gradual acceleration of ICE vehicles. This would theoretically smooth out the ride at lower speeds, providing a more comfortable experience. However, it remains uncertain whether these tweaks will effectively mitigate the issue. Despite these efforts, the reality is that the instant torque of EVs is a fundamental characteristic of electric motors. This means that unless there's a groundbreaking change in how electric power is delivered, passengers may continue to feel like they're on a high-speed tilt-a-whirl. So, while instant torque might sound impressive on paper, in practice, it's turning everyday drives into nauseating experiences and making us ask the question, are EVs really the future of transportation? If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.